for you. Okay, yeah, we are recording.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. So just bear with me one moment because I'm used to using Zoom. So I'm just going to share my screen and then we'll get straight into the masterclass. So just bear with me. I've put so much detail in this. So I do want it to be like a collaborative experience because there's a lot of information and some of it can just go over our heads. So if there's anything that isn't clear, please just let me know in the chat and then we can dive deeper into it. I'd love to hear your takeaways as we go through it. And my main intention is to help you see where you are ready to expand into your next level so that by the end of the year, as you go through this sprint, you are going to be able to see clearly where you can step into your next level identity. And I've planned a task at the end of the session, or this call, should I say. So we're going to clearly outline the limiting belief that you're currently operating from, even though it's probably going to be unconscious. So it's super exciting. Right, let me share my screen. Bear with. Okay, is that full view for you guys?
Yes.
Yes, fabulous. Okay, amazing. So, like Andrea said, I'm a somatic and identity business growth coach, and I help business leaders scale their business through the somatic and subconscious mind. And we're going to get into what that actually means throughout this call, because there's so many misconceptions about manifestation, energetics, and so many fancy words, and nobody really knows what they mean. And I just want to really bring it down to earth and give you the tangible tools that are going to make sense so you can apply them to business and get the results that you know you are capable of, but they're not yet materializing in your business. So could we just start by everyone sharing like what their goal is between now and the end of the year, just so I know where we're at, and then I can tweak things to you as well, just to make it more personalized, if that's all right.
Yeah, everyone knows how to write in the chat. There is this little chat on the bottom right of the screen.
Okay, that's helpful for me as well. Thank you.
Yes, you can open and see. I'm happy to read it out loud for you if you want.
Yeah,
so Monica says she wants to reach 4A. 4A basically is return on investment. So she will need a few sales for that, not many. But yeah, that's a very nice goal for the end of the sprint.
Fabulous. And we've got plenty of time to make that happen as well, haven't we? So that is incredible. And sometimes it can just be one identity tweak that can unlock that result. So it gets to be fast. Like I know Paula and Andrea, you've experienced this, and so many of my other clients, when we get to the core emotional imprint, and it'll make sense in a moment, that operating from, that drives your thoughts and emotions, everything gets to change as a result.
So Quiba says, I'm hoping to find like-minded moms while building a community and make at least one sale. First sale for Burja as well, Marca as well, seeing the first results, meaning sales. First sale for Arancha to make a few sales before the end of the year for Barbara. Patricia says, more confident, do my first sale. Esti, I'd like to put 2 sales and unblock the limiting beliefs. I'd like to have a nice team. Domenica, being in a financial situation to feel free and moving to my dream country with my father. Mia, my goal is to have my first sale and find a strategy that works for me and to reach people of my niche. And Miriam, I want to be able to overcome all my limiting beliefs about Instagram and technology. Sylvia, overcome fears and do my first sale. Kavita, make at least one sale, ideally reach 4A, that's return on investment. More or less for people who start like Kavita, she started with a quad, it's 4.5 sales, just so you understand, Natalie. Maria says, my goal is to reach 6A in a year. And the other Maria says, strengthen habits, be able to speak to the camera without doubt, see the first results. So we have a lot of first sales or few sales.
That's exciting. Okay, so these are the intentions that we're setting for this call. And then at the end of the call, we're going to go through the task that's going to outline what belief system you're currently operating from, what emotions are currently locking this result and this experience and this resistance between you and your goal in place. And then we're going to see how we can tweak that, and how you, when you embody the second part of the task, that's going to unlock the goal, so to speak. So yeah, definitely keep a note of that. So I'm just going to have to move you down into the corner while I navigate this. So I won't be able to see your lovely faces, but yeah, just shout me if you need me. Okay, so the whole theme.
Natalie, one question. If someone has a question, do you want them to reach their hand and I can let you know, or do you prefer at the end of the call?
Yes, that would be amazing. Let's do it during the call. Like, you can interrupt me. I just want it to be so fun and just so it's collaborative, so we get the most out of it. Because there's so many words, as you'll see. I've just put so much information in, so I just don't want it to be like a mind soup. I want you to be able to get as much out of it.
So don't be shy and just raise your hand, and if you don't know how to do it, it's at the bottom. You can speak, and if you raise your hand, I can let you know, Natalie.
Amazing, thank you so much. Okay, so the whole concept behind this call is to help you understand why you felt your potential, but your business isn't yet reflecting it back, or at least not in the speed that you hoped it would by this point. I don't know where you are on your journey, if you're at the beginning or you've been in business for a year or 2 years, but either way, this strategy is going to help you bring in the momentum to start seeing the results that you have just mentioned. So, as I've just touched on, by the end of the masterclass, my intention is for you to understand how you can use your emotions to scale your business, understand why flipping the script from leading with energy first and then strategy second creates leaps in your revenue. So we've been taught to just change our funnels and lean into strategy and invest in so many different mentors that are teaching us the logistic side of business. And while that's incredible, if we've got these energetic blocks, which essentially are just limiting beliefs locked in with emotions, then that strategy isn't going to work as well for us as it will for somebody else who doesn't have those blocks. So I'm going to explain how we can outline those today, so you can see exactly what your blocks are and outline the emotions that are locking them in place. We're also going to have complete clarity on the science behind manifestation, and what I'm going to tell you exactly what success energetics are. And at the end of the call, we'll identify the emotional block that's between you and your next level. So potential is obviously something that we all feel, but some people experience it and work so hard, pushing against everything that they're being faced with in life, and they still never experience the maximum potential that they know they're capable of, and that leads to disappointment. And the reason behind that is because we often get discouraged. So when we have a career pivot, when we have this new vision that we get attached to, it's not just plain sailing. We don't just go straight to the goal. When we decide that that's what we're going after, that's basically like our GPS, our anchor. And then on the journey to that, we're going to be faced with all of the limitations, all of the blocks that we've got energetically, so that we can become the person who has that goal at the end of it. And whilst we know that, a lot of us can just feel a little bit defeated on the way, because it feels hard when we're experiencing people move faster than us, and it can feel a little bit unfair. So when we actually work with our energetics, and essentially that's just our emotions, we can remove that resistance and start building the momentum. So like I've just mentioned, when we do connect to the vision, we're going to be faced with old beliefs, uncomfortable emotions, triggers, patterns, and even people that will trigger us. And this is not a sign that it's not working. It's literally just data. So we should never feel guilty for experiencing any of this. And also, we have been taught as a society to ignore our emotions, especially as women. So if it's the time of the month and we're feeling a little bit under the weather, or we just feel a little bit insular, what we've been taught to do is just push through and just ignore our emotions. But at that time of the month, our patterns, our limitations are actually being revealed to us so we can let go of them. So if we ignore those and choose to self-abandon and essentially override ourselves, then we're not leaning into self-trust, and we're actually slowing down the momentum that we get to experience. And that's why we can start to feel like we're on a hamster wheel in life, and the same, well, next year turns into this year, and we just repeat in the same year after year, unless we start working with our emotions and what they are actually presenting, which is the limitations underneath. So has anybody got any questions on that? Is it all making sense so far?
Yes, I think everyone says yes.
Okay, fabulous. Right, so what we work with as part of the framework that I've created is the subconscious mind and the nervous system, because that creates 95% of our results. So what we often do is think that we can outrun our subconscious mind and nervous system. So if you say, I'm going to hit, I don't know, let's say 6A by December, and then you feel a little drop in your stomach, or you feel a contraction in your heart, it starts to feel, it makes you feel a little bit anxious. That's your subconscious just telling you that you have a belief that's not in alignment with reaching that goal by December. So at that point, we would usually ignore that, and we would just repeat in our minds, well, I am going to do it. I'm definitely going to do it. And we keep taking that action, but then we are faced with the disappointment when it doesn't happen. So when we actually work with the subconscious mind and the nervous system, we get to access the very blocks that are keeping us from attaining that. So I know you two, Andrea and Paula, can definitely relate to this, can't you? Like when we work with the blocks, the momentum gets to compound quite quickly. And it almost feels a little bit, well, it definitely feels unfamiliar because we're not used to that speed. But all of the strategy and the hard work that you already have put in just starts to become amplified, and it starts to feel easier because you're not using energy trying to force and make things happen. You're using the energy more creatively to sustain the work that you're doing. So let's move on. Right. Okay, so one thing that I didn't mention here is when we're working with our subconscious mind, we're not just working with beliefs that we have picked up through our experiences in this life. We are working with our epigenetics, which are carried through our bloodline by up to 12 generations. And there's actually a scientific study to prove this, because as much as I love energetic work, I love the science behind everything. And I feel like this is so important for us to get behind and know that this isn't something that we are just like going to do a Reiki treatment over you and you're going to just magically start creating results. This is science-backed information. And when we work with everything that we are, which is our biological creation, that is how we can unlock the results. So I don't know if you've heard of this study, but I can't see you guys. 1 second. I feel like I'm just speaking to a screen.
Here. No, I think everyone is listening. I cannot see everyone either, but...
Okay, I'm going to move you up here. So I just feel like I'm seeing myself. It just feels like I'm not connecting to you. Okay, so there was a study in 2013 where mice were exposed to the scent of cherry blossoms, and then whilst they were exposed to that, they were experiencing a minor electric shock, which I know sounds horrendous, but when they experienced that, they then had babies, and then even though their offspring never experienced the shock, whenever they would smell the cherry blossom, they would run away. And they would literally just feel like they're under threat because they're carrying that memory within their DNA. And this is what happens to us as we navigate different parts of our life. We expand into business. Maybe we saw business for our parents as a struggle, and that created a memory and a belief in our nervous system and subconscious mind that success and business is hard. It means that we're going to sacrifice time with our loved ones, and therefore the subconscious mind won't let us get the results that we are seeking because of that very energetic imprint. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. So to ensure that you can manifest fast and you can get the results that you want, there's 3 different parts to it. So we usually just focus on the mental and the physical. So the mental obviously being getting our thoughts in alignment with the goal, making sure that we're thinking positively. And this is where most of us start and stop, because we think that if we use affirmations, we think positively, we override our subconscious intuition, that we're going to get the results. But the conscious mind only holds 5% of our total power. So if we don't include the subconscious, that is where we're faced with the resistance. So just an example for this is, you might say that you're ready for your next level, but then, like I mentioned before, you will feel it in your body if you're not, and then we'll intellectually override that and think it's confidence by saying, no, I am going to do it. It is going to happen. But we only get met with disappointment if we've got that contraction in the body. And that is the contraction that we're working with when we do the recode sessions. So then we've got the second piece of the puzzle, which is the body plane. So this is also known as the somatic coherence, and somatic just means the body. So our body is a translator between energy and matter, and it holds the emotional memories, the patterns of safety, and our sense of what's normal. So the whole point of our subconscious mind and nervous system is to keep us safe, to keep us waking up in the same life day after day, so to speak. So if we don't take different action, if we don't have a different set of beliefs, then we're not going to see a different outcome. So I know this is a little bit repetitive, but I just want to really lock that in there. And it'll all make sense at the end when we get into the task. So you've obviously, I'm sure you've heard of nervous system regulation, like it's like a buzzword that's everywhere at the minute. But all that means is that we need to ensure that our body feels safe in the energy of what we want, and that our body trusts our desire. So when we can feel the vision in our chest, in our stomach, and it feels peaceful, it feels almost expansive, but it feels safe, then we know that we're in alignment with the goal. If we feel any contraction, we know there's some work to do. And then we have the, sorry, I can't see this, the energetic plane. Okay, so this is our frequency. So this is our identity. So you've probably heard this thrown everywhere. And initially we think that our identity is the color of our hair, or if we buy a new wardrobe, or if we act more confident, or we change something physically, then we're going to step into the identity of our higher self. And whilst that can bring temporary confidence, it's not actually the fundamental work that's going to shift the results that we're looking for. So every time we do a recode session, or every time you recode your subconscious mind by outlining the limiting beliefs that you're operating from and changing them through repetition, you are becoming a different version of yourself, even if you just change one belief. And that's why the work can become so fast. So energy coherence means that our frequency just matches the version of you who already lives that reality. So if you think about your emotions, your emotional state right now, what do you experience on a day-to-day basis? So when you think about your business, do you frequently feel overwhelmed? Do you feel frustrated? Do you feel disappointed? Do you feel comparison? Do you feel excitement? If you could just drop in the chat like the 3 or 4 main emotions that you oscillate between every single day right now.
Okay, so we have, do you want me to read it aloud, or do you prefer to read it?
Yeah, if you want to. Yeah, perfect. I can see some of them now. Now
Okay.
I
So
can
yeah,
see confident.
excitement, motivated, grateful, and happy. Motivated, overwhelmed sometimes.
Okay, perfect. So,
Ex yeah, excitement without motivation, grateful but overwhelmed, overwhelmed comparison, overwhelmed and frustrated. Oops, there is so many. Mix of overwhelmed, excited, comparison, motivated. I dream with the business. I want to do DMO but lack time many days. Stay up late, comparison, excitement, gratitude, self-doubt. Excited, overwhelmed, comparison, doubt, excited, overwhelmed at times, grateful but overwhelmed, proud but restless.
okay, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. So if we make a note of these, that's going to make the final step super easy as well. So those emotions are creating your energetic signature at the moment, which is forming part of your identity. So identity basically means that it's an accumulation of our thoughts, of our beliefs, and of our energy. Energy is literally just emotion. Energy in motion is emotion. So feeling overwhelmed, frustration, excitement, happiness, contentment, and all of the other emotions that you mentioned, they are you're basically, your baseline is the denser emotion. And I'm going to show you the emotional consciousness scale in a few slides, so you'll be able to see that and like visualize that more clearly. But if you think about those emotions that you're experiencing now versus when you've attained your goal, the version of you who has attained her goal is going to be feeling, she's still going to experience those emotions, but generally she's going to feel a lot safer in her success. She's going to feel more grounded. She's going to feel more content. And this is, I'd be interested to know your take on this, Andrea and Paula, as well. So, do you know, before you attain a big goal, you assume that when you get there, it's going to be like full excitement all the time, and you're just going to feel completely free. But you still do oscillate between different emotions, don't you? Like it's another level, another devil is definitely how we can explain it. So you're still going to feel the emotions, but the intensity, and we're going to get into this as well, in the capacity, the intensity in which you can feel and hold becomes more increased. So the higher emotions help to elevate you more. So your base level is higher than, say, like you're operating from overwhelm, frustration, and sometimes excitement. Overwhelm and frustration are going to pull you down. So your base level is there. Whereas when you've attained your goal, the emotions are generally contentment, feeling grounded, maybe a little bit of doubt and overwhelm, but the overall emotion is a lot higher. So that's why you go up a level, and then you attract a different level of income as a result. Would you agree with that, guys?
Well, at least that's my experience exactly. Miriam says yes. I experienced that. I was attracting so many people in the past month when I was working with you, but I didn't know why. You know, I've been doing the same things. I just was operating from another, I guess it was energetics. Everything was so new for me, but yes, I could feel it 100%. Absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing. Fabulous. Okay, so with all of that said, this is why we work with the identity. So essentially thoughts, beliefs, and your energy at the subconscious and somatic layer, because it creates a significant change. So when we recode the root cause memory and we clear the emotional response so that the belief and thought pattern can't be re-triggered, it won't pull the body into old habits, because the body is literally just like a filofax of everything that we've experienced. And it would love to just have us repeating the same day every day. And while sometimes that's great, we want evolution. So we need to implement this strategy. So just to infuse a little bit more science in that, how's everyone feeling about this science? Are you interested in the science? I don't want to bore you. I wanted to give you as much information as possible. Okay. Fabulous. It's probably because I talk about it all the time. I'm like, is this boring? I'm obsessed, but I'm glad you guys are too. That's incredible. Okay, let's go. So amazing. I love it, Barbara. Thank you. Right. So this is this is another angle that we can look at the science of this work. So there's another experiment called the observer effect in quantum physics, which basically was the observation of particles moving. And then when the particles were observed, the particles changed behavior. So in other words, the moment that we look at something, i.e. we bring awareness to our limitations or a perception that we are operating from or an identity, it changes simply because we looked at it, not because we just made it up or we chose something else to focus on, but we just gave our awareness to the problem, and just by observing it, then we can then change the outcome of it. So it's going to make sense in a minute. So in actuality, what we're doing when we change your identity is changing the way that we see ourselves by altering the belief system, the thoughts, and our emotional state. So we do this in the signature method, which is the recode. And there's so many different NLP techniques, but this technique, it kind of closes a full, well, it definitely closes a full loop on the limitation, recoding that in real time, and then allowing you to step into the new energy that's aligned with the goal. And that's why it's so effective. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the universal laws, but there's a law called the cause and effect. And that basically says that whenever we change the cause, we're going to get a different effect, which obviously makes sense. But we tend to forget about that, and we're trained in society to try and change the external. So if our ads aren't working, we'll try and tweak those too many times, or just bring our attention to them and think, oh, maybe it's this, maybe it's that copy. Maybe it's because I've only got this amount of followers. Maybe I need to invest in a new strategy. Maybe I need to do this, this, and this. And we start leaning into hustle and force and trying to change the effect, essentially. When actually what we need to do is change the cause. Because when we change our energy, that same ad could start working again, which I know sounds wild. And obviously there's different perceptions on this, because it depends on the copy of the ad, how aligned the messaging is and everything like that. But generally, if we change the cause, the energy behind the action, we are going to get a different result. So everything in our life, our business results, our income, and our opportunities, even down to our relationships, are the effect of a deeper cause. And I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Kabbalah, but one of the main teachings of that is that everything in life that we experience is just a reflection of what we possess within. So if we are experiencing something that, oh, no, that's fine. It'll be recorded anyway. Not an issue. Lovely to have met you. I would have seen your face, I'm sure. Thank you. Yeah, so everything that we experience in life, whether it's causing us to feel uncomfortable or happy, whatever we're navigating, is just reflecting back a part of us that we're ready to let go of to step into the next level. So the cause isn't always our strategy, our funnel, or our posting schedule, or how little time we have, which is a limiting belief that I know I had for the longest time, especially being a new mom. It's how we are being. It's the story that we're telling ourselves that affects our energy. So when we change our cause, we change the effect. Does that make sense? Have I cleared that up? Okay, I'm going to keep moving. Fabulous. Okay, so when we change your cause, who you're being, essentially, we're going to change the effect, which is the result that you get in business. So this is the emotional consciousness scale. So think about the emotions that you shared of what you are currently navigating. And you can see here the average frequency in hertz this is. And then if you look to this column here, we can see that this down here, so like shame, guilt, fear, anger, even courage, are going to put the nervous system into quite a contracted state energetically.
Yeah, I think my father has a question.
Oh, okay. Did I miss that?
Sorry, no, I wrote if I should ask question. You can now. Okay, sorry, because I've been in and out because my baby is not really, he's sleeping and he wakes up and everything. My question is, like, if my I believe that in my business I will achieve my goal. However, in a different part of my life, I'm not as convinced, and probably my energy is not the same. Will this affect my business, or they are two different compartments? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And I can relate to that as well. So there is a little bit of an overlap, but they are separate entities.
Okay.
Because it's almost like you have a different, especially as mums, I feel like we have a different identity for every single area of our life. Well, the work identity.
I need to go for my baby, but answer and I'll see the recording. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, we have different identities almost that we operate from throughout the day, and they all have a different emotional set point. So we are a different version sometimes, especially if it's at the beginning of your relationship. You can be a different version of you to the version of you in business. So there is a bit of an overlap. And when you start doing the deeper recodes and the identity work, if that's something that you go down, or you even look into yourself on your limiting beliefs on different areas of your life, you will see how usually if you outline your limiting belief and then you ask the question 7 times, like, why do I believe this? Why do I believe this? Why do I believe this? You will get to the bottom of the root belief. Generally, it's I'm not good enough. People always leave me, or there's so many different reasons and beliefs, but it just comes down to that. And it's that belief that can be in your relationships and other areas of life, but it does show up differently. So that's why some people can experience a dreamy relationship and then not great results in business, and vice versa. And everyone's situation is unique. And I don't think it's as easy as a blanket statement of me saying, yes, it's going to affect every area of your life. It's so unique to everybody. So I hope that's helped clear that up. So
I'm back here. Thank you so much, Natalie. Yeah, it clears. Thank
you. Thank you. So yeah, so success energetic. So as you can see, we've got the emotions on the bottom. Then we can see that if we are operating from the lower emotions, we're going to be in a contracted state in our nervous system. As we move up, then it becomes more expanded. And something to note here as well, the reason that it's in a cone like this is because when we are operating from, let's say, fear, because that's something that we can all relate to, fear that sales aren't going to come in fast enough, or fear that we're not going to make it work even though we believe that we are. When we're operating from that low frequency, and it's completely normal to experience that, obviously, we're only human, we are having a very limited perspective. So if you look at that point of the triangle, that's essentially our perspective of reality. As we start working our way up the scale of emotions, our perspective, the possibility of life becomes wider. And as a result of that, we also have to create more capacity to hold these emotions. And an example that springs to mind, if you don't mind me sharing this, Andrea, is when we hit big months in our business, it can obviously feel great. It's everything that you deserve, you work towards. But then when we get there, it feels so much like to hold all of that emotion. It almost feels like you're buzzing, doesn't it? Like there's just, you can feel the vibration of like so much excitement and energy, and you kind of like a deer in headlights when you get there. And then it's in that state that we need to stabilize the nervous system so that we can regulate you at this new level. So there's work to do to remove the limiting beliefs. Then there's work to do to sustain the level. And we're going to get into that next. So has anybody got any questions on success energetics, so to speak? Okay, we're good to go?
Yeah, I think so.
Fabulous. Okay.
Oh, Barbara has a question.
Hi.
Oh, we cannot hear you. I don't know if no. No, like super far away. Maybe you have something connected, like a headphone or earphones.
I think my computer is not working very well. Okay, then never mind.
I can lean in, Barbara. I will do my best to hear.
Okay, my question is that how can we get rid of some feelings? Because at the end, it's like, for example, fear, like you said, it's like very natural and something actually that we naturally, most of the people experience. And how to get rid of this feeling and say, okay, no, you are not scared. You can do it. It's like, I don't know how to do it because despite that I tell myself so many times, yes, everything is fine, I can do it. But suddenly it's like this feeling deep down is always there. So how can you get rid of these feelings?
Okay, that's such an amazing question. So when we feel, obviously, like you say, we are going to feel fear. Of course, we're supposed to experience all of the different emotions. So one way that we can work through that is by getting to the root cause of the trigger that's causing that fear. But if you want to do this on your own, then I would do this. So in that moment that you're experiencing the fear, what we usually do is what you said your next thought process would be, like, it's fine, it's going to be okay, like we're just going to do this, it's new territory, it's going to feel like this, completely normal. And whilst that's great, we're kind of overriding the system, and all the system needs is safety. So what can help is if you think that your body is still operating from essentially the memory of when you were younger. So we just need to create that safety to your inner child, say. So in that moment when you feel fear, instead of consciously bypassing it and thinking, oh, I'm going to give myself a pep talk, I'm going to get in the zone and it's going to be fine, you're just ignoring it. It's like ignoring your child and saying, no, you're fine, you don't feel scared, just go to school or do whatever. In that moment, you actually just need to, first of all, just connect to yourself. Just take a moment, literally just breathe. You can pop your hand on your heart and just say what you're experiencing. Okay, so right now, and this is a little bit of emotional freedom technique, which is EFT. I don't know if you've heard of that, but basically there's energetic meridian points throughout the body. And whenever we're feeling these heavy emotions, we tend to feel like fear and anxiety here or the upper stomach. And we just get like a blockage there of the emotions, because what we do is we don't allow that emotion to fully travel through, because we've been taught to ignore it. We've been taught that emotions are bad, that we shouldn't feel them, they're an inconvenience. So they get stuck. So what we need to do is allow that emotion to come through. And the only way that we can do that is through the body and through awareness. And we would basically just breathe and just say, even though I feel scared right now, it's completely normal and safe for me to feel this. I'm doing something new. And just talk about what you're actually feeling. You need to reparent your body in that moment. So that's what I would say to do if you're recoding, so to speak, on your own. Just reparent yourself in the moment, bring safety to the body, even breath work, somatic dancing, just moving your body, moving the energy around, just so it doesn't feel stuck, because there is no difference between the feeling of fear and excitement. They both feel the same. but it's our conscious memory and awareness of them and the association that makes us link fear or excitement. So if you feel fear and then you start giving yourself safety, and then straight after that, give yourself a pep talk and say, no, I'm not scared. I'm excited to host this masterclass. I'm not scared. Then you're re-associating that feeling with the thing that you want that's going to align with the growth. Has that helped answer that question? Yeah, amazing, fabulous. Okay. So now let's move on to, how are we doing for time? Are we okay? Are we all good for everyone? Yeah. Okay, we're nearly at the end of the task, to get to the task at the end. Okay, so what does it mean to increase our capacity for more? So capacity isn't just about doing more. It's about being able to sustain more, to hold more of the emotion. As we've said, the emotion becomes more intense as we go up the emotional scale, and the more money you make, the more visibility you get, the more recognition, the more you have to hold in the 3D and obviously internally, because what we experience outside of us is just a reflection of what is inside. So if you want freedom outside, we need to create freedom within, which is freedom of limitation and freedom of you shrinking when you really want to express yourself. And there's so many different facets to that. But generally, we need to be able to sustain more wealth, success, joy, visibility, intimacy, and freedom without collapsing, without letting go of our boundaries, without leaking energy, so to speak, and without self-sabotaging. So if you think back to a moment in your life when you were on a winning streak and it felt like everything was working out for you, everything was incredible. So usually after a big event, so it could be after you get engaged, when you get married, when you get promoted, when you launch your business, when you have an incredible revenue month. After that, if you've not stabilized in the body, we can start to revert back to the old energy, which is those old emotions that we already outlined earlier on. And that becomes frustrating. The first time, you don't really notice it. You kind of think, oh, it's normal. It's normal for me to not have consistent sales. It's normal for my business to go up and down. But when you stabilize your emotions and your capacity to hold that wealth or happiness, success, love, whatever it is that we're referencing, that gets to be your new baseline. And then when you go up, we do the work again and you just keep rising. So that's what it means to increase our capacity. And as I touched on a little bit, the capacity is set by your nervous system and your subconscious identity. So what it feels safe holding. And we all have an upper limit as well. I don't know if you've read the book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, but that goes into detail about the upper limit on the subconscious level. So we all have a set point, which is essentially like a thermostat of what we feel comfortable receiving. And when we go beyond that, it kind of like shortcuts the circuit and pulls us back down. So it's in that point that I think it's most important to do the work there, because it's so frustrating having tasted that success and that freedom and that incredible energy, and then to drop back down, you almost feel a little bit defeated. So to avoid that, the work really is stabilizing when you're on your winning streak. Is all this making sense? Have we got any questions? No?
No, I think no questions. Oh, Miriam has a question.
Okay.
And Elisa. Miriam, maybe first? Yeah, Miriam.
Hi, Natalie. Thanks very much for the presentation. It's been amazing so far. I have experienced this that you have just said, and it was very difficult for me. It's still, I'm trying to get over it, that I reached a point in my job where I got what I wanted, and I felt really, really fortunate, but then I had the fear to lose it.
Mhm.
you know, and I've worked a lot on my mindset to have the position I have at the moment. And it's the same for the business. I mean, I'm explaining this because it's exactly the same I feel. Like
Mm.
I can get this, and I'm very sure and I'm very confident that I can get something. But once I've got it, it's like I'm gonna lose it. I'm not gonna be able to maintain this, and it's not gonna happen again. So that is yeah, I have experienced that, and I would like to know how to overcome that. And because it's what happened to me recently, I mean this year.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. And I feel you. It's so frustrating, isn't it, to be navigating that? And I too experienced that. And basically, when we, you know, at the beginning of the call, when I said like there's three parts of alignment, so to speak, that we need to make sure that we're in complete coherence with our mind, body, and energy. So consciously, you've ticked that box. Mentally, you know, you're incredible at your mindset work. You can get yourself in the zone, you can do the work. But energetically, that's where the fear comes in, isn't it? So that's where the limiting belief is, and that's where it's linked to the body. So it's basically shortcutting your nervous system. And it's when you reach that peak, it's like, oh, I don't feel safe here because I'm expecting disappointment, because I've got a belief that I'm expecting it because one time I expected it or one time it happened. So now the body remembers, don't get too excited or too happy or too sure of yourself, because when you do get there, you're going to lose it. So then that just keeps getting reflected back to you in life in different areas. So you can realize, hang on a minute, there's a pattern here. And that's when we can recode at the subconscious and somatic level. So I'll tell you at the end how we can do that when you outline the beliefs, because yeah, I'll tell you at the end. But I've got like a really low investment to get your hands on this work, basically, to make it super easy for you to do your own recodes with the support of me in your ears, without having to invest a substantial amount in like one-on-one mentorship. So I just wanted to make it super accessible, because the beginning stage of business, especially when you're pivoting from corporate, or even like me when I was in a business partnership of almost 10 years, I see that the same as corporate, because you're working with people and you don't notice your limitations, because sometimes it's easier to work for people, to be part of a team. And then when you're doing it for yourself, when you're building your own success, you have to go face on with all of your limitations, all of your shadows, all of the parts of you that you've been ignoring. If you shrink when you're on social media, if you feel anxious about sharing your truth, if you feel like people are watching you and they're going to think the business is a scam, all of these things, you've got to go face on with that. There's nowhere to hide. There's no strategy or big brands to hide behind. You've got to own everything that comes up. And the fastest way to do that is to recode every emotion that's linked to a limiting belief. And that's how you level up in terms of identity to get different results fast. So there's a solution. We don't have to stay in the disappointment, so to speak. But yeah, I think that's covered that all. Has that helped?
Yeah, thank you. Waiting for the end of the class, of the web class, and see what we have to do. Thank you.
Fabulous.
I think Elisa had a question and then Barbara, but I don't know, Elisa,
Yeah.
if you still have the
Still there.
question. Yes,
Yeah.
you do. Okay.
Thank you. So hi Natalie, thanks a lot for the session. It's been amazing so far. I have a question. I've been working for I think over 5 years in psychotherapy, and this reminds me a little bit the stabilizing body, like just to have this capacity to hold once being in expansion. It reminds me a little bit on like what I've worked on a lot. It's like to kind of embrace when we're up, when we're down, and just to train to go up again. Is this kind of what you're talking about? Like it's through training how we get to really hold into expansion? Or because for sure it's not about the speed, it's about repetition of moments when you're down, the exercise of being present, embrace it, hold it, and then go up again. Is kind of what, okay.
Yeah, it's basically, so by recoding parts of our identity which are attached to the limitations and the limiting beliefs, obviously, we're going to avoid these super high and low periods, because then it feels hard to bring us. Yeah, it's just like an emotional roller coaster.
Okay.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. By increasing your capacity, yes, it doesn't just go through the roof and then we're at 100K months straight away. We've got to go up the levels. We've got to do it gradually so the body feels safe rising. But when we work, what's the word, like when we work frequently on the emotions and the limitations that we're being faced with every single week, say, which you'll be able to do in the app if you decided to recode yourself, then you would do one recode a week, one part of your identity, or you would assess the week, what's coming up, what emotions have I been feeling today? Then you go through the task and you think, okay, so this is the belief that I'm telling myself, and that's now being reflected back in low sales or no engagement or no leads or whatever it is, or relationship. And then from there, then you would access the somatic imprint, and then you would go back to the root cause memory where that was first created, and then you would recode that. So then your body's not holding that anymore, and then you rise naturally because you're stabilized.
Okay. Perfect.
Like that.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you, Natalie.
You're
Awesome.
welcome. Thank you. Is it Barbara? Yes. You next.
Yes, I don't know if you can hear me well this time. I have two questions actually. The first one is that, do you have any routine, any daily routine, for example, to try to raise your vibrations? And my second question is that, how do you figure out your limiting beliefs? Because before you say at the beginning of the conversation that you were asking why several times until you find out what is blocking. Because, for example, I have no idea what is blocking me, and I don't know how to, figure it out.
Yeah, that's such a good question. And do you know, at the beginning of being introduced to this work, we don't know, because we're kind of like cut off from our intuition, and we kind of cut off from our body and we just abandon ourselves because we don't listen. And I don't mean this like you don't abandon yourself externally, you look incredible, but I mean, we are trained to ignore ourselves, to just push through, to just essentially just treat emotions, like I said, as an inconvenience. But it's a practice, and the more that we get in touch with our emotions, you just trust when you go through the recodes that your body knows everything. Your body will tell you, and I know this sounds wild because we're like, well, how the hell have we not heard of this before? But when you connect to that emotion and you do the journaling exercise before, and you're like, okay, so I'm telling myself this, all you need to know is, I feel sad right now. Let's just make it simple. I feel sad right now. Why do I feel sad? Because this has happened. What am I making that mean about me? Okay, so I'm feeling that I'm not good enough. Why do I feel like that? Why do I feel like that? And then we can get an idea of the thought process that's keeping this going, that's keeping the emotional charge there. So then you would go into the recode and you would connect to the somatic imprint. So I would walk you through it. You would have your eyes closed. You would feel the trigger, which essentially is the emotion in your body. Then you would connect to the space that it takes up. Is there a color there? This is all the somatic work. And then from that, that's your subconscious access point. And then through the audio, it would say, okay, so we're going to allow the subconscious mind to take you back to the first memory when this was created. Then a vision arises, a memory of you when you were younger. And then you'd go through the audio and it would reframe that scenario. And then we would breathe through, release the emotional charge. And now I'm trying to remember the next question. Oh, what do you do to get your energy high? Was that it? Yeah. So there's loads of different practices, and I genuinely don't believe that it should be like a 5-step morning routine for everyone, because I don't know if anyone's heard of human design, but we've all got different energy types. And some people thrive in routine, some people hate routine like me. So I like to just be quite spontaneous and like do what feels good in the moment. So my go-tos are somatic dance, like a workout, and I used to hate dancing. Like I still don't really dance in public, but it's good in your own company just to connect back to your body, especially if you have been like me, where you're super logical, super analytical, like love the facts, love geeking out and reading, and you're not really that expressive. And just doing the somatic dance allows you to connect back to your body, and it releases the emotions as well. And there's an amazing membership called The Class obviously online. And that's a subscription, and there's so many different somatic workouts in there for like opening your heart, connecting to yourself, removing blocks, clarity, all the things. So I definitely recommend that. Going for a walk, just moving your body in general. Energy and emotion, well, emotion is just energy in motion, and what we tend to do is sit down and feel it, and not feel it, and just eat it instead, or do something that we don't want to do, like, I don't know, smoking or drinking or something, to avoid feeling the emotion, when all we need to do is feel. It only takes 3 to 5 seconds to feel an emotion before it's completely allowed to pass through our system. So the better that we can get at feeling our emotions, the better that we can use them as data, the better that we can create momentum and then scale. Okay, so we're almost at the end now. So Q&A, have we got any questions, or do you feel like they're already answered? Everyone's like, I don't know. Hey, Dominica. Where's she gone? I use Zoom, so I'm not used to this. So I can't see.
No,
I'll be able to hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, I can hear you.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for the call.
Oh, no, you're
So
welcome.
my question is, can you give me some tips, or for all of them, some tips on how to not be so harsh with yourself sometimes? Because sometimes I'm like comparing to other people, even though I'm working daily to this to see my own journey, but how to not be harshing yourself so much, of not doing enough, like it's never enough. Like you can, every time I'm looking like at my page or at my mindset or something, it's like always, you can do better, you can do better, like it's never enough. So even though when I look back behind myself, it's a long way that I've already been through. I've moved forward and everything. I did some good things, but in my business or in my personal development, but it's like every day there's like even one moment when you're harshing yourself for not being good enough. So maybe you have some tips to I don't know, to work on yourself, like I'm doing everything I can, and if I can do better I can do, but if not, you understand? I'm sorry.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that was something I experienced as well, and it's a really common limiting belief that stems from childhood generally, doesn't it? So like feeling that we're just not good enough, everything that we do is just never enough, and that feels exhausting to operate from that belief and that identity. So what we can do is obviously recode that identity, numerous ways in which you can do that. But if you're going to do it on your own, then what I mentioned earlier on in the call, where sometimes for someone who is so analytical, so logical, so driven, it can feel a little bit tedious, and you're like, oh my God, this feels so cringe or so boring. But you really just need to create safety in your body ultimately, and reparent yourself. So if you're feeling that way, so you catch yourself in that moment and you're like, even though you've done X, Y, and Z, and you're telling yourself that's not enough, I would just literally connect to your body and just breathe and just ask yourself, why is it not enough? And listen to the reply, like get in touch with what you're actually telling yourself. So then you'll be met with another layer. So you can be like, okay, but I feel like it is enough and I'm ready to let go of this pattern. And you're basically taking control of yourself rather than letting the old conditioning control you and your habits and your perception and your day-to-day and your energy. So always come back to you. Reparent yourself, if you want to use that word. Just create safety in the body. Or even if that feels a little bit too unfamiliar at this stage, moving your body, just doing something that feels good to you. And I know that sounds such basic advice, but doing something that feels good to you, whether it's taking yourself on a walk, running a hot bath, booking an Airbnb like me because I needed a break, just doing something to give yourself the time and space and the appreciation that you need for everything that you have done, for everything that you already have accomplished, because it sounds like you've done a lot and there's no need to be hard on yourself. And I know it's easy said than done because I'm guilty. But yeah, give yourself the credit and just connect back to yourself. Yeah, that's all I would say on that. Has that helped?
Thank you. Yeah, a lot. And I have another question, a quick one if nobody has. But another one, it would be, do you think it's that true that I've read about it a lot and I've listened to some podcasts and everything. So there are a lot of people that say that if your goal is to feel something, like for me, it would be moving to another country or something, my dream, something that I imagine of. So is it a good tip to, even though you are not in the goal, to be experiencing something with your own hands or with your own, or seeing things, even though it's far away or you cannot do it physically, but to try to be as much close as possible on your daily routine, to like you are already living in that dream, you know?
Andrea's your girl for that. Literally, that is what you do so well, don't you? Yeah, the more that we can create safety in the body, the better. Sorry, Andrea, I cut you up then.
No. I think that's totally what you need to do, or at least what it has really helped me. I of course, in my case, I was visualizing. For example, I was trying to visualize through the song that I played in Malaga. And every time, I heard that, I was really dreaming with what I was going to do until I really manifested that. But I think there is many ways to do it. Maybe your way is not going for a walk and listening to a song. Maybe your way is, if you want to live in another country, eat that food, listen to podcasts, and that, just familiarize yourself. So there is no other way. So I know Beatrice in our business that she wanted to move to Spain always. So same thing as you, moved to another country, and everything she was doing in her daily life was based to that decision. She had to rearrange the basement with her husband, and her husband didn't want to move to Spain, and he was like, we don't need to do that, we are going to move to Spain anyways, and they didn't do it. And then she was always trying to act already as if that was going to happen. Or in my case, for example, when I wanted to be job free before the summer, I was not enrolling my kids in summer camp. I know this is very drastic, but it's just start to act as if this is going to happen, because then it's like you build your own reality. You're going to believe it. I mean, you're experiencing it, so you believe it. There is other people that they go to hotels to work because they want to feel, the wealth, the glamour, if that's your thing. I mean, but yeah, 100%.
Thank you.
And just on the back of that as well, just before you go to sleep, like those few minutes before you go to sleep and when you wake up is when you can impress the subconscious mind. So if you can create that experience then you're going to basically marinate in that while your subconscious mind is while you're sleeping. So it's just going to enhance that effect. Okay, so you're welcome. We've done the Q&A. So now we'll get into it. Have we still got time for this, guys? Are you good for time? I can run through it quickly. Okay, so we set the intention at the beginning of the call. So that is going to be our goal. Obviously, if you feel like you want to tweak it, change it, that's fine. So we need to just set the intention. What do you want to experience by the end of the year, or by your timeline? What do you want to experience? And to help you with goal setting, we don't want to give yourself too long to create the goal, because there's no excitement there. It's just like, oh, that'll be nice sometime in the future. But equally, we don't want to put you in a pressure cooker and make you feel like it's impossible and it's too overwhelming, because then you're going to have a negative emotion that's slowing down the energy and momentum to having that goal. So the goal needs to feel stretchy, but like exciting. It doesn't want to feel dysregulated, obviously. But it doesn't have to be realistic or predictable based on what you've already achieved, because we're going to find out how we can change that. Okay, so once we've got the goal, we're going to check for conscious and subconscious dissonance. So this is basically where we connect to our intuition, we start trusting ourselves again, and we just just say, is it possible for me to hit 6A by December? You could get a yes, you could get a no. Either way, it's absolutely fine. It's just a practice to get back to seeing if there's any resistance and trusting yourself again. So if there's resistance, well, you would just recode it anyway. We're going to outline the limiting belief. If there isn't resistance, then that's incredible. But we can still outline if there's a limiting belief. So the principle behind this is really just to get yourself on board when you're making goals and check in with your body to see if it evokes an emotional response.
Natalie, one question, because I remember it was very difficult for me even to check with myself. I sometimes didn't feel it, it's like, I don't know if I feel a yes, if I feel a no, so I think you also told me like tricks, like, for example, I got this kind of like anxiety inside me, and that was totally a no for me, or like it made me uncomfortable, so there was a block there. But how maybe they can try to feel it if they, from the moment zero, they don't feel, or maybe they need to do breath work first or listen to a song.
Yes, yeah. So in that moment when we've got the goal, then we're going to check, is it possible for me? We're literally just going to say, is it possible for me? If your conscious mind is very active, you're used to experiencing a lot of thoughts, a lot of, oh my days, I need to do this, and this, and you really can't connect to your subconscious mind or your intuition because you're just not used to accessing that part of you yet. Then you just want to, rightly so, like Andrea said, just regulate yourself. You can do breath work, or something that's super simple. You can close down your eyes, and then whilst your eyes are closed, just look up, and that's going to activate the polyvagal nerve, which is at the back of our mind, and that's linked to the nervous system, which puts us in the parasympathetic state of the nervous system, which is associated with peace and rest. So if you're ever feeling super anxious about anything, and all you can hear is your racing thoughts, and you're making everything mean something about you, and your heart's pounding, and you feel like you're not even in the room, all you need to do is take a deep breath. You can look up, but if you can't do that because there's people around you, then literally just almost like zone out and listen to something in the room. Like just look for or listen for like a switch or a bird or the sound of the electricity. Like just, you want to be super aware. And when you bring your awareness outside of you, it stops it being about you and it instantly cuts off your thoughts. And then that's when you can access your subconscious mind and your intuition and just even create safety. Like, is it safe for me to access this goal? Is it possible for me? And then you might even get no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. It might just throw you an absolute side quest, which is completely normal at the beginning. But the more that you check in with yourself, the easier it's going to get. And obviously, the more that we remove anxiety, overwhelm, and the lower vibrational emotions, the clearer you're going to be able to communicate. If you ever found that, Andrea, like the more recodes that we've done, do you feel like your intuition is more like a channel, like more aligned now?
Yeah, like I'm even having things, I even like something comes to me even before you ask the question. I already see it, and at the beginning I was like, I am feeling something. Is it my mind who's making up this? It was so confusing because I have this kind of mind who I'm always thinking about what I need to do, and maybe as moms, we all experience that. Or even if you're someone super active, you don't need to be a mom. But that was very difficult for me.
Yeah, it takes some practice to get the conscious mind out of the equation and to trust that what we're actually hearing is what we want to be hearing, what we like, the intuition. But the more that we calm the nervous system, the more that we remove the negative emotions, the easier the channel is, so to speak. And that's just self-mastery in itself. You just become completely coherent, mind, body, and energy. And that's when you take the action, and everything that you want gets reflected back to you quickly. Okay, so we've got the goal. Maria has a question.
Hello.
Hi.
I just wanted to say something that it's my opinion, and I would like to know if you think the same or not.
Yeah.
That is about putting goals and realistic goals and everything around that. I've been working on creating goals in my job experience for many years, and I changed jobs, I changed positions, and at the end, in my experience, what I've seen is that, and it makes total sense, right? In the beginning, when you don't have a lot of practice in that specific role for whatever, the goals have like, they cannot be that realistic and you are not that trust about them. But anyway, as you are in the beginning, and that's what happened with me, I accepted that I could hit them, overachieve them, or even don't arrive to them, but because I didn't have enough information to actually put those goals that were 100% assured with me. And I feel in this business, this can happen a lot. So you put goals without all the information. Sorry, Lucas, un segundo, mi amor. Without all the information behind to actually know if those goals are realistic for you. And I think with time, you feel more secure with those goals. And I think that's something that personally happened to me. And I think that's something that it's very normal that everyone can experience in the beginning. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah, that's completely normal. Yeah. And I think when we make the goal too expansive without recoding the identity on the subconscious level, we are weakening our self-trust because we're almost setting ourselves up for failure. So then the body associates goals with not being achievable. So we want to, especially if you're new in the business, you want to just celebrate yourself for every single win and just set little goals. It might seem so small at first. It could be this week, one lead in the business, one person engaging with your content, just these little wins, and then you want to stack them, and that's going to be proof. And then we've got something in our mind called the reticular activating system, and that basically is what we're searching for. So if we program that to look for disappointment, to set a goal too high and then never achieve it, we're going to always think, oh, nothing's working out for me, even though we could have 5 leads in the business one week and we could say, nothing's working out for me, if we're looking through that lens, because it's not enough. But if we train our body and our minds to trust ourselves by making incremental goals and sticking to them, and then celebrating those goals once achieved every single week, we're training the reticular activating system to show that everything is always working out for us. Clearly, everything is. Every single week, we attain a goal because it's that small. We get to celebrate, be in the energy of celebration, pat on the back. Yes, let's go. Let's go to the next one. So that's how we build that self-trust. Has that helped?
Yeah, thanks a lot. And I think it makes total sense. But I think for people that might not have one objective on their life, they might think on like long-term objectives in the beginning and not short terms, and that could create this frustration and overwhelm. I have like in my mind very clear like what are my short-term objectives and what are my long-term objectives, because I'm very used to it. But I think for people that has never done that, it can be very complicated if you don't have a guide and you've never done this before. But I totally agree with what you said, and these small wins, and this helped me a lot. I literally did an amazing party when I had literally 10 followers. So I was
yeah, that's such a good point. It's something that we all need to remember, isn't it? To celebrate the small wins and be realistic, but push the boundary a bit, like make it exciting, make it challenging. Okay, so I'm conscious of all your time, so I want to just whiz through this really quickly. Okay, so what is the current belief? So we've got the goal. Okay, you wrote down your intention. That's the goal. We've also outlined the emotions that we're operating from underneath. When you think, and you could take a screenshot of this, and you can do this after the call because it does require a little bit of processing. So what is the current belief that you're operating from? So you might not know that. You might just think, okay, I think like this. This is what I'm thinking. And then as a result of that, then you can get to the bottom of that by asking, like, why am I thinking this? What am I telling myself? Go 7 layers deep. Then we're going to answer this question on a scale of 1 to 10. How uncomfortable does it feel? This is really just to feel it in the body, to get used to bringing your body on board. I know these questions feel basic. They feel a little bit boring to go through, but it is essential when it reveals everything at the end. What are the top 3 emotions that are coming up when you sit with this belief? How does it make you feel? How does it impact you? So this is identifying the current identity that you're operating from. Okay, so then we're going to go to the goal. If you make the goal work in the time frame that feels good but exciting, what is the belief that's going to support you in attaining that? What is the version of you who gets that goal effortlessly? What is she operating from? Sales are easy. Daily leads arrive into my business every single day. Closing calls takes minutes. People want to be led by me. All of these different beliefs, like whatever feels good to you. So find out the belief or thought pattern that's linked to you easily attaining the goal. How would it fully feel to believe and embody that new belief? What are the top 3 emotions that you would feel? And how would your life be affected by it? And what would your business look like by the end of the year, or the time scale that you've given yourself if this new belief became your truth? So then you're going to be presented with 2 bits of data. The one that you're operating from now, the identity, the emotions, the beliefs, the thoughts, and the goal, the identity of this, the beliefs and the thoughts and the emotions that are going to help you support, that are going to support you to get that goal. Then what you can do is see, you essentially have 2 timelines. You either carry on believing that and feeling that, and then you're going to get same results, or you decide to check in with yourself every time you come off feeling like how you've outlined in the second column. And this is something that we would do at the beginning of the recode, but obviously we dive deeper into the subconscious. But this is really an incredible tool that you can use to identify any of your limiting beliefs, and you can catch yourself using the methods that we've shared throughout this call to create repetition and reprogram your subconscious mind by yourself. You don't have to do the recodes. It speeds things up, but you can do it yourself through repetition. You just need to stay conscious and make sure that you're catching yourself, pulling yourself back into the path that you want to be on. So that is everything. Like I said, there is an app that's launching at the end of this week, and I'm making it super accessible. I would only want to, I'm only accepting 20 people into the membership because I want to create it as like a founding experience. So all of the beliefs that I've recoded with my clients are going to be listed on there, like the main beliefs. So you can literally plug in, grab the audio, and then connect to the somatic imprint, recode that in real time. Then there'll be one monthly call where we can do hot seat coaching, and you can submit your Q&As if there's a belief that's not on there that you're navigating and you want a bespoke audio created, which is why I'm doing the founder membership. So yeah, that's everything that I've got to share with you. I know it's been quite a long one, but I hope it's been helpful. Is there any questions before we go? I know this is going to be available for you to watch as a replay anyway, so you can take notes of the final slide. Okay, amazing. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been incredible. And yeah, if you want to dive deeper into any of this, then you can reach out to me on Instagram. Thank you so much, Andrea and Paula, and I will see you soon.
No, thanks to you. I think everyone is saying that it was very valuable. Davida is saying that there were emotions that she didn't even realize she was holding. So she's happy to do the inner work. Wow. I think they have your social media now. And if they really want the app, how they can do it? Just message you on social media?
Yes, yeah, it's literally going to be live at the end of the week. And it's because it's the founding price. It's the lowest price point that's ever going to be. So yeah, just reach out to me and yeah, we can dive deeper into that. And yeah, I can share that with you. But I'm so glad that it's helped you, and especially just connect back to your emotions and reveal the things that we often suppress, because they are our biggest blocks. So just bringing awareness to that is going to be gold for you in itself. So I'm so happy for you. Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, Natalie.
Bye. You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.